Good morning, students. In last class, we discussed about database languages, how many languages available, and what are various types available in database languages. And we discussed about the relational model, that is, what are various components available in relational model, and a little bit information regarding data independence, that is, how one layer is implemented with another layer, the interaction between two layers, right? That is called as logical and physical layer. In this class, we are going to discuss what is data independence, complete knowledge about data independence, and what is schema, and complete knowledge about schema and instance. Okay. In last class, all we discussed till, I hope this class is completed. Let's move on to data independence. We know that the data independence is two types, called as logical data independence. It is also called as conceptual data independence. Okay. And the logical data is data about database. Okay. That is, it stores information about how data is managed inside. As already we discussed that the logical data independence has a capability of storing our data in the form of tables. Okay, that is, it, for example, a table stored in the database and all its constraints applied on that relation. Okay, as now we discussed. And logical data independence is a kind of mechanism which liberalizes itself from actual data stored on the disk. So we do some changes on the table format. It should not change the data residing on the disk, right? This is important here. The conceptual schema here, we are in this conceptual schema, the data is in the form of tables. Physical schema is in the form of data dictionary. Okay, when we are changing the table content data, clear, whatever the data, whatever the content available in the physical schema is a data dictionary, it should not affect it. We are changing the data called as by means of a command called as delete. Okay, the delete command implements only conceptual schema. It should not affect it to physical schema. If any data dictionary directly changes, automatically it is affected to physical schema. It is not affected to conceptual schema. Clear? Right. See here, this is a second type of independence called as data independence. All the schemas are logical. Logical means what we can't see. Okay. Clear? Logical means what we can't see, and actual data is stored in bit format, zeros and ones, on the disk. Okay. Physical data independence is the power to change the physical data without impacting the schema or logical data. We are changing the bits by means of our data dictionary, indexes, metadata. These are belonging to what are we call as physical schema. Whatever changes are happening in physical level, in by means of bit point of view, it should not affect the data which is in high level language called as conceptual schema, which is in the form of tables. Okay. For example, in case we want to change or update the storage system itself, suppose we want to replace hard disk with SSD, it should not have any impact on the logical data or schemas affected. Clear? I hope logical data independence is nothing but whatever the changes that we are doing, it should not affect it to physical independence, physical data independence. Similarly, physical data independence is nothing but whatever the changes we are doing, it should not affect it to logical data independence. Okay, clear? Right. Again, this is how is physical data independence is achieved. How is logical data independence achieved? Clear. Physical data independence is achieved by modifying the physical layer to logical layer. We are modifying physical layer to logical layer. That is a mapping between physical layer to logical layer, so that we must ensure that modification we have done is localized. If we map the physical level independence to logical level independence, it should not have the physical data independence is achieved. Similarly, how is logical data independence achieved, right? See, this is physical data independence, that is nothing but it is mapping the physical to logical or conceptual. Similarly, how conceptual schema achieved, mapping the conceptual schema to external view. Okay, this part, see, from this part we are achieving conceptual schema, that is not logical schema, logical independence. By here we are achieving what we call logical independence. This is physical independence, this is logical independence. Clear, right? See, in some textbooks, this is a how we the actual happening of physical data independence and logical independence. Clear? See, this is a external data called external level, called as these levels. We have 3 levels that we'll discuss here: 1 level, 2 level, 3 level. External level, logical or conceptual level, physical level or internal level. Okay, right? So suppose we have different users in external 1, 2, 3. Okay, view 1 already we discussed. External 1 wants data of particular row, 2 wants second row, third wants second row. Okay, similarly, this is the one person wants to access the salary and employee. Another person, he is writing a language in programming language. Okay, another person writing a language called as COBOL. He wants department number and employee number. Okay, see, this is the 2 persons wants his data. 2 persons wants his data differently. One is one application with one language, second one is another application with another language. Okay, right? But the conceptual level, data is stored in the form of table. Okay, that is nothing but table name employee followed by employee number characters, which is nothing but 6, department number followed by 4, salary followed by 5. So memory locations are 6, 4, 5, total 10. Okay, see, this is the conceptual schema. Okay, see, next, see here at a conceptual level, the database contains information concerning an entity type called employee. Each individual employee has a employee number. This is employee number, department number and salary. Okay, right? Now we are moving to internal level. At the internal level, see, employees are represented by a stored record. Stored record is nothing but now based on attribute 1, we are moving to remaining attributes. See, we will discuss that concept here. Here, this is a stored record. We will discuss. We have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 attributes. First one is called as stored record because in second unit we will discuss the key constraints. Based on the key constraints, you can easily understand what is primary key, secondary key, these things. So stored record is nothing but P1, part number. Based upon part number, we can identify remaining fields. Based on particular attribute, remaining attribute are also retrieved. This is called as primary key attribute. This, in this terminology, we say that this is a stored field, stored record. Okay, stored record is nothing but consisting of four attributes. Stored field is nothing but which have only primary key attribute. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. These four attributes are called as stored record. Stored field is nothing but based upon the particular field we are retrieving remaining attributes. Okay, for example, if I say KHIT, Kallam Harinath Reddy Institute of Technology, right? This is a stored field. Okay, based on stored field, we can say that what are various branches available in it, how many students are intake in it, who is the head of the department in our department, who is the director of our college. Okay, we can easily retrieve based upon stored field. Okay, clear? I hope you understand. Similarly, your hall ticket number is a stored field. Based on your hall ticket number, I can say your year batch, I can say your department, I can say your college name, I can say your university number, I can say where the examination seating can be happened. Clear? This is nothing but stored field and stored record. All stored field and stored record are stored in stored file. Okay, that is nothing but your customer table or customer employee table. All should be stored in stored file. This is a stored file. This is stored. This is a stored record. This is a stored record. This is a stored field. Combination of 1 and 2 is called as stored file. Okay, clear? I hope you understand. Let's move to this section. At the internal level, employees are represented by a stored record type called stored employee, which takes total how many bytes means 20 bytes. Here we have 6, 5, 4. Total it is 15 bytes. Total it is 15 bytes. But what is the remaining 6 bytes? We can see now. 20 bytes. Stored employee contains 4 stored fields, a 6 byte prefix. First one is 6 byte prefix. This is total 20 bytes. Among 20 bytes, first is 6 bytes, which is used for control information such as codes, flags, pointers. This is a default from here to here. From employee number to it moves to department number moves to salary. It should be in a pointer manner, 1 to 1. Already you know about the pointers, right? So it takes 6 bytes. So totally how many bytes? 6 plus 10, next 5. That is nothing but 15 plus 6. So total 21. So here 21, but salary here we give 21. So 6 plus 6, how many? 12. 12 plus 4, 4 plus pay. This is 4 bytes. Here they go 4 bytes. Here they given as 5 bytes. So if you take it is a 5 bytes. Total it is 21. Okay. If it is 4 bytes, it is 20 bytes. I think you can understand what I'm saying, right? So initial 6 bytes total. This is 15 bytes or 14 bytes, and these 14 bytes consist of one prefix called as 6 bytes. Why 6 bytes means total number, total highest number of the employee. So among the 6, 4, 5, 6 is the highest, okay, highest memory allocation, so that the prefix is 6 bytes. If it is 8, the prefix bytes is 8. I hope you understand. 6 bytes followed by 4 bytes followed by 4 bytes. If it is 5, this is 21. If it is 4, it is 20. Okay, clear. 6, 4, 4. So total 6, highest number 20. So 20, starting 6 bytes for offset values. It is nothing but storing codes, flags, and pointers, and remaining 6 for employee. See, this is a offset. Starting first 0 to 6 offset is for pointers. Next, after 7 to 12 or 11 is for employee number. Next, after 12 it is department 16. Next, after 16 it is the day. I hope you understand the scenario of what we call this one, physical schema, storage field. Okay, right. So already completed this concept. Already completed this concept also, and this is the total structure. This is the total structure. If they ask a question called explain 3-level database architecture. Okay, explain three-level database architecture. Explain about conceptual level. We will write this concept. If it is the external, this concept. If it is physical level, this concept. Okay. If it is external level, this concept. Conceptual, this concept. Physical level, this concept. Okay. Right. This is a important question. Explain three-level architecture. Okay. Otherwise, explain database architecture. Okay. See, this is the language we will discuss. We have various users. Among these user, host language DSL. Host language DSL. Host language is nothing but his application language. DSL is nothing but data system language, like structured query language. Okay, these two persons using, already we discussed, these two persons, these three persons means, here we go, these two persons are using programming language called SQL. Remaining three persons are using this language called as COBOL. Okay, now you understand. These two are using PL/SQL. So grouped as external view A. These three are remaining. So grouped as external view B. Okay. So external view is a view the user wants only part of information rather than complete database schema. He wants only some part information rather than complete database schema. Okay. Next, whatever the external schema retrieves data from the database based on conceptual view. Okay, based on conceptual view. Okay, and all these viewers, conceptual view and stored database central view is maintained by a software called as DBMS software. Already we discussed. It acts as a bridge between user and database. Okay, so here in conceptual view, the data is stored in which format? Table format. So the table format, here the data is stored in table format and maintained by a person called as database administrator, called as DBA. So already we discussed, we have various users called as external user. This is the external user. He don't know anything else about database, just what the user wants he has to retrieve. Second one is application programmers, that is nothing but who designs the software. And third one is a DBA, which cannot seen by the user. He interacts with the user and the system. So he interacts in conceptual view. Okay, so conceptual view is actual data is stored in which format? Table format, and the user request is taken in the form of table and submitted in the data dictionary format or bit format, and it takes the bit format and converts into table format and give to the user. This is the process done by the conceptual level, and here we maintain the independence called as logical independence. And finally the data is actually stored in the database, which is this symbol, and this is also called as internal database. Actually the data is stored in the form of data dictionary, metadata and indices, and the last one is bit oriented. Okay, whatever the changes that we are doing here, it should not affect it to conceptual view and external view. Okay, this is the important concept called as data independence and three-level independence. Okay, next, coming to another section called as important section called as database schema. Important concept called as database schema. Okay, right. What is a database schema? As already you know that database schema is a complete database. Okay, that is nothing but it is the skeleton structure that represents the logical view of entire database. Skeleton structure is nothing but table format. Logical view, it should not used by the user. It is applicable in where physical database. So it maintains the table structure in database by means of bit oriented. Okay, it defines how the data is organized. The data is organized in the form of data dictionary, and how the relations among them are associated. The relation is like this mapping. Okay, right. It formulates all the constraints that are to be applied on the data. It formulates all the constraints. We maintain some constraints. Based on the constraints, we can interact in database. The constraints all we discussed in our second unit. Okay, a database schema defines its entities and the relationship, that is nothing but here among them. It contains a descriptive detail of the database which can be depicted by means of schema diagrams. So ER diagrams is a picture representation, so it is called as schema diagrams. It's the database designers who design the schema to help programmers understand the database and make it useful. So application programmers who writes these particular applications, he used some picture representation so that Navy users is also understand what we call as conceptual database. Okay, a database schema can be divided into two categories called as physical database schema, logical database. Logical database schema, data is in the form of tables. Physical database schema is in the form of files as indices. Okay, this schema pertains to the actual storage of data and its form of storage like files and indices. Okay, now you can understand the concept. Then it is in the form we call as physical database schema. Okay, right. So physical storage. Okay, next, logical database schema. This schema defines all the logical constraints that need to be applied on the data stored. It defines tables, views, and integrity constraints. So integrity constraints are we will discuss in second unit. Okay. Next, coming to next topic is database instance. Simply we can say that if we are retrieving particular row, that row is called as database instance. So it is important that we distinguish these two terms individually. Database schema is the skeleton of database. It is designed when the database doesn't exist at all. Once the database is operational, it is very difficult to make any changes to it. So a database schema does not contain any data or information. Okay. Now a database instance is a stage of operational database. So whatever where we do operations by means of a command called as DML. Okay, with the data at any given time, it contains a snapshot of the database. So database instances tend to change with time. Shows that its very instance is in a valid state by following all the validations, constraints, and conditions that the database designers have imposed. Which field called as a database consists of 3 files. Among the files, we have a stored file and stored records. Okay, already we discussed this one. Okay, see, after completing data independence, we move to the concept called as mappings. Okay, already mapping is discussed previously, but this is a different terminology and compared to previous topics. Okay, so the mapping is nothing but connecting one to one, right? If you take DBMS maps two things called as users and database. Okay, it acts as a bridge, right? Similarly, if you take this diagram, if you see this diagram, these three can be considered as a mappings. This is a mapping and this is a mapping. So we have two types of mappings called as conceptual or internal mapping, external conceptual mapping. Okay, this is the conceptual level to internal level mapping is called as conceptual internal mapping, and conceptual to external view level is called as external conceptual mapping. Okay, right. See, first conceptual internal mapping, that is from here to here. Okay, right. So it deals with data, as you know that conceptual level deals with tables, internal level deals with databases. Okay, now it relates conceptual schema with internal schema. Okay, as you know that. Second, the conceptual internal mapping defines the correspondence between conceptual view and storage database. So this between conceptual level to database. And next, it specifies how conceptual record and fields are represented at the internal level. So these tables and this database, how it is connected, can be implemented by means of conceptual internal mapping. And finally, this is important point, if structure of the storage database changed, that is here the structure is changed, okay, it should not be affected, as you know that, right? If the structure of the storage database is changed, if change is made to the storage structure, then the conceptual internal mapping must be changed accordingly so that conceptual schema can remain invariant. That is, if it is changes, whatever the change is happening at database, it should not affect it. Means the changes which is done in internal level, automatically based on the changes is happened in internal level, conceptual level also changes, but it is not affected. Okay, here only updated data is not updated data is not available. Okay, I hope you understand. Whatever the updated data is available in internal level, that updated information will give to conceptual level, so that it will not affect it. Okay, clear? That is nothing but this point. There could be only one mapping. See here, only one mapping. One mapping means DBA gives information to physical level gives information to conceptual level. That is nothing but only one mapping between conceptual to internal level. Okay, right. Next, second concept is external conceptual level. That is nothing but this is one, so this is one. So we have here we have only one mapping, but here we have more number of mappings. Okay, so this is the point. There could be several mapping between external and conceptual levels. So the external conceptual mapping, it defines the where to where external view to conceptual schema. Here external to conceptual schema. It relates only to external to conceptual schema. So the differences that can exist between these two levels are analogous. That is nothing but which is independent to those that can exist between conceptual view and storage database. So this should not affect it to this one, and this should not affect it to this one. This is the point here. The differences means whatever the differences that done in this level, it is not affected to this level, and the differences are any disturbances, that is, or any updations are happened, it is updated to, it is not affected to this level. Okay, clear? So example here is fields can have different data types. Okay, attribute fields have various data types, and fields and record name can be changed. Several conceptual fields can be combined into single external field. Okay, clear? Right. I hope you understand the mapping. But in some textbooks, the mapping can be done with constraints. Okay, that is nothing but the mapping constraint express the how many entities. That is nothing but already we discussed entities. This is called entity. Entities to with another entity can be related via a relationship. This is nothing but relationship. See, one entity is participating with another entity. That participation is called as a relation. Okay, it is the most useful in describing the relation sets that involve more than two entities. So here we have only two entities. Okay, this is called as binary relationship. So the constraints for mapping are, we know that in MFCS already we studied about four constraints, four mapping types called as one to one, one to many, many to one, and many to many. So one to one means one entity is associated with at most entity in second one. So an entity second one is also associated with at most entity in second one. Okay, this is called as one entity is participating in a relation with another entity at most one. Similarly, this one also participating in this one. Okay, see this one. At most one are participating to both the relations. Okay, this is called as one to one.